I've been out of the wood shop for a few months. Thought this would be a good little project to make a scoop to practice some spindle turning with a skew chisel, which I often tell you I'm not the greatest with a skew chisel, but hopefully help you understand how to use that a little bit better today, and also to practice some hollowing, end grain hollowing techniques. First thing I'm going to do here is just rough this to be a perfect cylinder. It's pretty round already, but I'm going to use this skew chisel. You could use the peeling cut with your skew chisel, which I find very easy to master and easy for even a beginner to do, and I'll show you that a little later in this video. But here I'm actually practicing more of a slicing technique because I need practice, and that's the main purpose that I'm even using a skew chisel for this project. You can see it's a pretty good finish with no sanding at all, even though I'm not that great with this tool. I do want to show you exactly how you should hold this. I'm going to stop this and put a picture up for you. So when you use this, you want to try to make the cutting edge be at 45 degrees like I have shown here. If you make it steeper to where that's less than 45 degrees, you have a hard time getting rid of the wood shavings. And if you make it greater than 45 degrees, that's where you get into that peeling cut and you actually don't get that smooth of a finish. And here I kind of show the middle of the tool with that dotted black line. And you just want to stay below that black line. The further you stay below that black line, the less chance that you're going to get a catch. When you get up close to the middle there, you can easily get a catch and it'll bring your tip in to the wood. I really appreciate the support that I've got from the channel. I know that some of my videos have helped a lot of new beginners with some of their wood turning, and that was the whole reason that I started this channel. So I really do thank all of you that have commented and shown your appreciation and support for the channel. If there's anything that I could show you that would be helpful, please let me know. I would be glad to try to make some content directed right at what the need is. So you help me know what the need is, and I will try my best to be helpful. And I find the easiest way to get the depth of end grain hollowing is just to use a battery powered drill with a drill bit and kind of get the depth there that you want. And then here I'm going to try a couple different methods. Right here is what I normally do, and it's very easy, and I'll do that most of the way. But I'm going to right now try the back hollowing process that I've seen, Richard Rafton or whatever his name is do, and some other professionals. And I'm telling you, I've tried it multiple times, and you can see occasionally I get it to work, but even when it's working for me, it doesn't seem to be as easy or user-friendly. So it's definitely more of an advanced technique. I will continue to try it, so hopefully I can master it at some point. Maybe my gouge is not angled correctly for that technique, I don't know. But here I'm back to using what I normally do. And here the tool rest is giving you support. And so all I'm doing is cutting on just left of the center with my flute opened up about 45 degrees, and I'm cutting just left the center on the flute there. And starting at the center of the wood and just kind of work my way out to the rim. Most of that, the center, actually even at the center, most of it is a peeling cut of side grain. So even though you're starting with end grain, once you get that depth, which I drilled out with a drill right, the rest of it's pretty much peeling side grain. That's why you don't have the risk of a really nasty, dangerous catch like you would with end grain turning on a bowl. Because you could never use this type of technique when turning a regular bowl, okay? And here I'm using a little scraper. You wouldn't have to do that. I don't know that it actually cleaned it up any more than the gouge did, but it was pretty smooth both ways. And here I'm just sanding it a little bit. Now I'm gonna mark the depth with a ruler. You can use your finger actually to do pretty good there. So that's kind of where I want the bottom of this to be. And I'm gonna use a cheap little parting tool here just to kind of mark that. I'll give you a different angle, camera angle. Okay, here's a different camera angle. You can see how I'm cutting on the bottom third of that tool, and I'm making sure that I'm not getting the center of that tool in the wood. Now, the more this gets curved, this is very important, the more wood you take off here, the more it goes towards the center, the more end grain that you are cutting or slicing and less side grain. And so what that really means and why it's important is you have a much higher risk of getting a catch the more curved this angle gets as you come in. And you're going to see me, I get a little cocky here later on the turning, and I have a pretty nasty catch. So I'll slow that down. It happens so quick you can't even really tell what happens. But here you go. Just doing this side here. I'm actually less than 45 degrees here, so it's actually more of a peeling cut. Probably not as nice a finish. And then I'm ending it with more of a slicing cut. If you saw me kind of roll the tool down. And you can't tell it here, but there is nervousness as I'm cutting this, because I've had enough catches in my life practicing with the Skew Chisel, so it's just not a tool of mine that I'm super comfortable with. If you saw me there, I just used the tip of the tool, and if you use the very, very tip, that's another way you can avoid getting those nasty catches. Not a bad cut there. Kind of starting to feel like I know what I'm doing. Now you can use a set of calipers to see your depth here, but if you just take your two fingers and move them back, you can tell if your fingers are getting farther apart or closer together. And it really does a pretty good job without having to have a tool to get the thickness to be the same. And you can use that with bowls also. And next here, I'm going to show you how to just remove some material fast. Here I just got a beading parting tool. You can use that just to use a peeling cut here. You're not really worried about a good finish. Then I'm going to show you the peeling cut with a Skew Chisel, which is really, it's the same cut. It's just a different tool, but really the exact same cut. You're going to see it right here. This is the peeling cut. You can do this. It's so easy. All you're doing is just rubbing the bevel, but this doesn't give you a great finish. So this is not a hard part. So if someone is doing this cut with the Skew Chisel, you really haven't mastered the Skew Chisel. This cut I could do like one of the first times I used a Skew Chisel, but I'm still many years later trying to perfect that right there, the slicing cuts with the Skew Chisel. It's just, I find it to be one of the harder tools to master, but I think that the potential is great there. Now, Lou, I got some nice ribbons coming off there. Looked really good when I was watching the video. And here, I'm getting ready to have the catch, I think. Yeah, there it went. That quick. I think I'll slow it down for you, see if we can tell what happened. But there's the damage done. I will be able to save the product, but here's a nice cut. Look at the curls coming off. Really nice shavings coming off. Oh, it looks perfect. So that right there, I'll slow it down for you just so I can kind of brag. And then a second later, watch how quick this catch happens in slow motion. so slow, so fast. I slowed that down, I think, 4 times, and I could not really see what happened, but I'm pretty sure I got the center of the tool kind of in that end grain. Like I told you, the more curved you get, so especially down there at the skinny part of this turning, you are cutting a lot of end grain. So up here you're cutting more side grain, and as you curve down, you're just cutting more and more end grain. If you want to understand that better, go watch my video on bowl gouges are superior and why catches happen. I really explain in detail why catches happen with tools, and it's really the same reason on no matter what the tool is, and it's that you're trying to cut across the end grain in an improper fashion without using a slicing cut. So hopefully that video can help you understand what really happens on these catches. Here I am using a peeling cut again, nothing fancy. Now I'm switching back to doing some practice there with the skew chisel, trying to gain my confidence back after having that horrible catch. And it's springtime here in southern Ohio, and I just got all of my garden plants out, got corn planted, got some tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and watermelons, planted quite a few things this year, so watching that come up. And I also planted 8 new fruit trees, so hopefully in a few years I'll get some rewards for those labors. Here I am just sanding this a little bit. Use the skew chisel. You don't really have to sand much, especially if you get better at the skew chisel than I am. But even with my skill set, I didn't really have to sand that much. I think it was probably 220 or a 150 grit sandpaper that I sanded that with. Here I just use a saw to cut off. You can part that off, no problem. Would be simple to do. And now I'm going to put in the sanding disc. I have a video out on making this so it fits all of your chucks. Makes it real easy to put a sander on your lathe real quick. And I never knew how to make these scoops. I always used a coping saw, but I did see, I think it was Richard, that used this technique, and I appreciated that. I think I even thanked him on the video because this is a pretty clever technique to shape your scoop exactly how you want it. And probably a little higher or a little lower grit sandpaper on this might actually make it better. I think this is more like a 100 grit sandpaper disc, so maybe if you had a 60 grit that would make this process even faster. But that kind of gets it. And then I used a Dremel tool or just a little piece of sandpaper to kind of true up those rough edges. And I think it turned out pretty good. It was pretty good practice. Hope you enjoyed.